Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I've created a fourth model for the presidential election and you're going to want to see this. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new and you want more content just like this. And so as of right now, I essentially broke down all of the demographic groups by category. So I did it by age, by education, by gender, by income, and by race. And essentially I average out all these results and then we end up getting a demographic estimation of the election. We combine the polling with a little bit of the nonpartisan voting pattern of every single state. Essentially, what I do is I get it here and I shift it with the RCP aggregate to sort of get an estimated NPV for this cycle. It's not exact, but it's kind of a general guide of where the NPV of every single state would be. Essentially, in this election, Alabama would be voting to the right of the nation by 35 points. That's essentially what the NPV is. So if you were to tie the popular vote, that's what the margin would essentially be at an estimated point. And so now we basically end up averaging out all these results and we get the final margins here. And Donald Trump is projected to win the national popular vote by 3.3% in this scenario. And so we're going to be going through all of the margins as of right now while analyzing some polling data for all of these states that are left in blank. I've already filled in the safe Republican and safe Democrat states to save us time for this video. We're going to be going from east to west, essentially filling in every single state as of right now. And so Maine at large, I think, is interesting because the polling data here actually looks good for the former president. Believe it or not, this is a state that, he's actually leading quite a bit in. However, third-party support in polling data is actually going quite down. Kennedy's kind of fumbling a little bit, and that's why you're actually seeing Biden surge a little bit in the RCP aggregate. Last time I had Trump barely winning the state, and so I think as of right now, unfortunately for Donald Trump, I think he's probably going to end up losing it by around a point or so. As of right now, that's basically where I have the state at. If we look at the state of New Hampshire, we're actually going to see that the polling here is pretty decent for Biden, and he actually leads by around a point and a half in the forecast. So we're going to be putting that in the lean margin for him. Connecticut, New Jersey, Delaware, Rhode Island are going to be likely Democrat states in this scenario as of right now. If we look at the state of New York, the polling data actually looks really bad for Biden. The latest Siena College poll actually has Biden ahead by only 8. The last one had Biden ahead by 9. And then the last one had Biden ahead by 10. So Biden's been losing his lead as we've been going. Even with third-party candidates, Biden is only up 7 points. And if we look, he's up by 8 in a head-to-head matchup. If they pulled third-party races here, they would definitely be seeing a huge drop in support for him, for President Biden. I think Biden would probably be leading this poll by 5 or 6 if they actually included third-party candidates. And so the state of New York is actually going to be a big problem for Biden. However, I do still think he pulls it off by a likely margin, but it's definitely going to be way closer than what people are thinking. This is not the deep blue state it once was. The governorship race there in 2022 was pretty competitive. Hochul only ended up winning by 6 points, and I expect Biden to probably end up winning by a similar or even lesser amount. My model actually has him winning the state by 12 or 13 points, roughly around that margin. So that's where we're going to be putting the state as of right now. For the state of Virginia, right now it is in the lean Democrat column. Polling data suggests that Donald Trump has taken the lead here, according to Decision Desk HQ. However, the polling data is still pretty competitive, and the fact that this is a liberal trending state, I'm going to give it to Biden by about a point or two or so, but Donald Trump has made serious gains here as of right now. If we look at the state of North Carolina, right now my model has it at a 9-point victory, which I think makes sense. Right now the polling average has it at around a 5.6 percentage point victory. The polls in 2020 favored Biden by around 3 percentage points, a little bit more than that. So that margin may actually be fairly accurate in the state of North Carolina. If we go to Georgia, where there is a polling aggregate, the margin is around 4.6, but my model actually has him winning the state by around 8 percentage points. Presumably the African American turnout is going to be quite down from last cycle. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see Donald Trump win the state pretty easily, consider the fact that Biden is less popular than Clinton as of right now than when she was on election day. And on top of that, African American turnout had to be ridiculously high. I mean, the ingredients for Democrats to win the state are there, roughly according to the 538 model. Georgia has around a 30% black electorate in this election cycle. However, the problem with that is that a lot of them have been flocking to Donald Trump. And if Donald Trump even makes some minimal gains with them, I actually have him winning about 25% of the black vote nationwide. That's why you get Donald Trump winning Georgia by such a large amount. If we go to the state of Florida, we'll see that Donald Trump is leading in the aggregate by around 7.9 percentage points. I currently have him winning the state by 14. The polling average underestimated Trump in the state by around 5 percentage points or so. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see something like that actually occur once again. Donald Trump had a much larger polling lead as of right now, but that lead has actually been shrinking in the state of Florida for whatever reason. The polling also suggests that the Senate race is going to be a lot closer, but Trump basically ended up winning the state by 3 while being down by 3. So that's like a 5 or 6 point polling error miss. And so if we have an error similar to that, we're going to get a margin similar to that plus 14 category as of right now. The state of Ohio is also at around plus 14 for Donald Trump in this scenario. We actually see that the former president is doing very well in the state of Ohio. He won it by about 8 last time, and we see that he's shifting whites to the right in this scenario. I actually have him winning whites by around 19 points this cycle, and so I wouldn't necessarily be surprised to end up seeing a massive victory like that. And actually, for correction, Donald Trump's actually only leading the state by 11 points in the state of Florida as of right now, so that actually aligns with the previous polling error pretty well. So that would actually make a lot of sense to see. And so now in the state of Iowa, that's also around a 14-point victory, as well as the state of Texas. All these states actually vote around a 14-point margin in my forecast. And so that's very interesting to see because Texas was literally only a 5.5-point victory for Trump back then. So to see the state shift 10 points to the right would be a huge shift. But because of the fact we do have the southern border crisis going on, and Donald Trump presumably will make gains with lower income brackets, I actually do have him, improving with under 30K and 30 to 60K voters by quite a significant amount. So that's actually going to shift the electorate massively to the right, to a certain extent. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see Donald Trump win the state by around this margin. Iowa and Ohio are pretty good margins. I see that and Seltzer, a very accurate pollster from 2020, who had Trump up by 7 points, the month before the election, has him up by 18 points. Currently, my forecast has him winning it by around 14 points as of right now. We see the state of Illinois, my forecast is around a 9-point victory, mainly because of the fact that there's a lot of African American voters in the state of Illinois. I wouldn't be surprised to see this state shift. However, the suburbs are really what's going to keep it in that higher likely margin. If the white vote in the state actually shifted with the rest of the nation, we would see the state become competitive. However, that's not going to happen as of this cycle. We also see states like Colorado are going to be likely. It's around a 6-point victory as of right now, so the state does vote 9 points to the left of the nation in this cycle. So it technically doesn't even trend that much to the left. It actually stays kind of stagnant compared to 2020. So we do see a lot of trends in certain states basically stagnant, and we even see states like Illinois and New York actually start beginning to trend to the right, including a state like New Jersey as of right now. And so Washington, Oregon are going to be likely Democrat states in this election as well, about 10 and 8 points respectively. They're much closer than their 2020 counterparts because of the small black populations shifting the states to the right, as well as the big city areas kind of shifting a tiny bit to the right, as well as the rural populations shifting the state to the right as well. You're going to see improvements here, but the only reason why they're not competitive is because the white suburban vote is going to continue to shift to the left, and that's why you see these states stay in the higher likely column, kind of similar to Illinois and even Colorado to an extent. Now, New Mexico is going to be around a 3-point victory for Biden as of right now. I did have Trump winning this before. However, as of basically my basically reevaluating my analysis, I have realized that there is a lot of white liberals in the place of Albuquerque in the state of New Mexico. And so that has kind of reevaluated how I look at the state. Yes, Hispanic trends are going to help Donald Trump get the state under 5. I have no doubt about that. But the shot of winning it may actually be pretty difficult. He may have an easier time winning states like New Hampshire and Maine at large, even compared to a place like New Mexico. That's why my current analysis is basically looking at. The state of Arizona is around a 7-point victory for Donald Trump. The state basically inflates in its margin because of the Hispanic support that Donald Trump has been getting. We also see the state of Nevada be around an 8 or 9 point victory. Again, Hispanic support has been inflated for the former president this cycle, and so I wouldn't be surprised to see these states vote by that margin. We also have Nebraska second, being a lean Republican district in the scenario around 2 points for Donald Trump. And he's already gotten 269 electoral college votes, by the way. He only needs one state, and not necessarily doesn't even need a state, because if he were to lose the entire Rust Belt, this would go to the House of Representatives, and he would probably end up winning it through there. We see that the states of Wisconsin and Pennsylvania are around 6 point victories for Donald Trump. And what's quite interesting is that Pennsylvania, Donald Trump leads there by like 2 or 3, depending on what aggregate you're looking at. And the polling error has favored Democrats by around 2 or 3 points, in the previous cycle. So it wouldn't be surprising to see that. Now, Wisconsin, Donald Trump is either trailing by a point or barely ahead by a point, and the polling error has been like 6 to 7 points there, depending on the aggregate you look at. So to see Donald Trump winning the state by 6, almost 7 points is actually not that unrealistic. Now, Michigan, Donald Trump narrowly leads there. The polling errors have not been as bad there. They're still pretty bad, but not as bad as these two states. And so we see the state as of right now be in the higher lean margin. It's around a 4 or 5 point victory for Donald Trump in this scenario. Now, you may be like, oh, well, this is a lot closer than your last projection. Yes, you are correct. Biden does win New Mexico, Virginia, New Hampshire, and Maine at large back. And the thing is, let's be honest, guys, Biden has gained, essentially 2 points in the national average in literally like essentially a few days. So, that may be a temporary surge, but it still is reflected in the data, and it does reflect my forecast quite significantly. So I have to stick with what I have and be as empirical as I possibly can. So yes, Donald Trump has lost states from his, previous projections that I have, but as of right now, he still does, he holds on to Minnesota, albeit close. It's a 0.5 point victory in Minnesota, but he does actually hold on to it. So my latest projection has Donald Trump winning 323 electoral college votes to Biden's 215 electoral college votes. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new and you want more content just like this. And I will see you guys very, very soon.